present presentation in tranquility. Thank you for coming, guys.
Get excited.
Thank you.
Excited.
Drop.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the voice of God. On behalf of all deities, welcome to CCP Presents. Over the last few days, you've had a glimpse into the past and present of CCP. Now, for a portal to the future, would you please welcome to the stage the CEO of CCP, Hilmar Petursson.
So, welcome. This is the CCP Present. So here we're going to talk a lot about what's going on in the future, now that we have seen that the Eve Dust link is real and Dust is for real, and we have a really solid plan to maintain the present while we sort of step towards the future. I want to give a shout out to the people on the stream. We've had a lot of people watching there, and I also want to do a shout out to the Eve TV crew, who's done an amazing job. And I don't really understand how they can keep up, coming up with the endless dialogue that goes on between everything and managing the chaos that is going on. Here are some of the stream stats. Here we see the Dust keynote on top, and then the Eve keynote from yesterday. Here we see some of the gear that Oliver has put together. He sits outside in a massive truck to make all of this work. It's kind of amazing what it has risen to. So for those that are coming here for the first time, there's a lot of people in addition that are showing up for the CCP Present keynote. Then we have been running a sort of a keynote trio this conference. We started with a Dust keynote where we showed the Eve Dust link for the first time on stage. And then yesterday we covered a lot what's happening sort of concretely in the year 2012. So now we talk about sort of more future stuff. We have here in the audience sort of basically all stakeholders that surround CCP. We have our employees here in the back. Cheer them. And we have families, we have shareholders, we have partners, we have press, and of course, you, the players. As we've been talking about sort of in every one of the three keynotes, is that CCP has gone through sort of several chapters on its journey to where we are today. And it's sort of interesting how it sort of divides into exactly 3 years for each one, where we go from the age of innocence, where we were sort of prepping to make EVE Online, where we were making EVE Online, which took 3 years, where we marched towards 200,000 when we reached in 2007. And then for the past 3 years, then we have really had a very rapid international expansion and open up many projects. Now that we have really sort of regrouped around a more clear set of priorities and processes, then we're now entering into the phase where we're about to deliver the future. And it's kind of interesting to watch Fanfest sort of go through these stages. This is a picture from the first Fanfest. Here I'm giving my first keynote. As you see, it was a little less production then. This is actually all of CCP on stage back in 2004. And as you see, it's grown quite a bit. This is 2005. This is last year in the Laugardalshöll Sports Arena. And this is today. So we've been getting a lot of good feedback on the venue, which helps us iterate on that. First, when we went to Laugardalshöll, there was also a lot of sort of kinks that we needed to work out. Certainly, a lot of people have come up to me and talked about the branding that we were able to achieve in Laugardalshöll, but that took a few years to get to that level. So hopefully, we'll be able to sort of refine everything that we're doing. As we see, there's the opportunity to do way more here than we did at Laugardalshöll. And it's very interesting to sort of see all the sort of action that's going on. A lot of happy employees, happy players, intimate sessions, roundtables, very smart people talking about awesome things, and people actually listening. The CSM had a panel, a cool guy in a suit, awesome link demo. Stoffer was very happy about it. This is the face of an orbital bombarder. I was thinking that maybe next year we could have his pants that he wore when he was there, and we could sell them as the orbital bombarder pants at the silent auction next year. Would you guys be interested in that? No. And then, of course, the awesome PvP room, where a lot of intensity has been bottled up. And it's been really amazing to see how you, the EVE players, have embraced Dust. Certainly, the goal was very much to make sure that you felt absolutely comfortable with Dust sort of entering the EVE universe and the EVE Dust link. But in addition, seeing the enthusiasm that people have here for the actual game has also been really sort of reassuring and encouraging for all of us, that both you accept Dust joining and also you're having a great time just playing the game, as can be seen from some of the sort of action. We had a phenomenal charity dinner on Thursday, which is something we absolutely must sort of continue to do. Was very interesting. I sat next to a guy who had just gotten his first EVE tattoo. It was all his forearm, really cool design with a Tengu EVE electric board and all that. And we did a bit of musical chairs, and the next table I sat on, there were two people there that quit playing EVE 3 years ago, but they still come to Fanfest, which I think is an interesting testament to really what the game has become. It has become something much more than just what is simulated by our supercomputer in London. The venue, it's just a really good picture of it. Pub crawl. I ended up at the Sony Sena party. I've never seen as much happiness in anything I've gone to. It's just, there's a lot of happy people downtown yesterday. I wonder why they were so happy. Happiness. And this one really nails it. Yeah, this is Cameron Royale on his first Fanfest with Royal style. Here's sort of update on all the sort of charity which we have been doing here at the venue and at the Fanfest. We have had the Get Well Gamers Foundation help us with that, and they are here for the second year. So it's been phenomenal to see what we have been able to sort of gather with all the activities, the poker, the silent auction, the dinner, and all that. We have a guy who bought actually the Dust gun, and he paid extra if he was going to accept it on stage. So we're going to do that now for charity. So, Peter. Try it out for one last time. So, here you go. Thank you for your support. And the people often say that EVE players are not good people, but my experience is that EVE players are fantastic people because they get all the badness out of them into the game, and what's left is pure goodness, no matter the race, the creed. Yeah. There's going to be a bit on localization later. So, the Council of Stellar Management. Here is the CSM6, and I really want to thank them again for all the hard work they have put into helping us maintain the course. For sure, there was a lot of stuff to get through last year, and the fact that people came to Iceland at a short notice and really helped us navigate through this was just a really good thing to have, and that people were able to help us, guide us through this very difficult period. It really shows what the potential of the CSM is. So I really want to thank them. Let's all applaud them. And here's the turnout. Voting participation continues to rise. Of course, given all the focus that we had on the CSM last year, that's not that unexpected. But still, this is a lot of voting turnout. Here are sort of how the votes are distributed between the individual members. I see Alex here is assuming that he's re-elected. And we have had a much higher turnout than in most of the Republican sort of runner-up election. And there are various states where there's less voting participation than in EVE Online. So people seem to care more about their game politics than they do about their real-world politics, which is really interesting to see. And again, something that has really surprised and inspired us. So I'm now going to put up the slide. This will be CSM 7. And here we go. Yep. I hope we will have to do less of what was going on last year. I certainly think we've presented a plan where we will have some credible things in motion to make sure that we stay the course while we step towards the future. And I'm going to sort of start talking about the future by playing, again, Future Vision, because there are people here in the audience which might not have seen it. So I'm going to start. So if we dim the lights, and here we go.
Honor isn't about making the right choices. It's about dealing with the consequences. There's a fine line between right and wrong. You'd better know which side of it you're on.
This is Vanguard 6. We've reached the last checkpoint before the terminus.
Can you take the ground station?
Not without the close air you promised.
You'll have it. Now keep going and do what I'm paying you for.
You just send that airstrike in the money. We'll take care of the rest. Next, make it louder. Move up! Move! Use your jacks!
Aborted.
There's been a change of plans, Vanguard.
Orbital strike launched.
Help isn't coming. At all.
Your honor. That's when you learn the hard way. Your choice always comes back around.
So this is still the future vision of EVE Online, and this is what we have in place to make sure that EVE will go on forever. And we made a huge step towards that, refuting some of the claims that it's going to take 18 years to get there. And showing the orbital bombardment on state was quite a big achievement. Here we have one frame from EVE TV since the broadcast. And here we sort of see all the setup that was going on. We had 2 PC clients, and then we had 2 PlayStation clients on stage. But what you also had is that we had 20 actors that were playing the battle. They were basically the cannon fodder that Atli and Brandon were shooting. And you can just imagine the international logistics that are involved in getting 2 games to link together, up to 30 people playing basically virtual theater here on stage to pull off showing the link in action. Then I just really want to give a big round of applause to the international team of awesome that put this together. There's so many people. There are hundreds of people which have worked across many time zones and making waking hours to make this happen. Please give them an applause. So, future, but as we also saw yesterday, then we have Gandhi and John Lander to help us with the present. But to talk about the future, the first speaker on stage is our CTO, Halldór Fannar, and he's going to be showing us a little bit what he has been up to towards the future. Halldór.
Thank you. Finally get to stand on this stage. Been dreaming about this for a long time, and now I get to abuse my power. So just bear with me for a moment while I abuse it. So I want to get a few technical things kind of squared away first. Just explain a few things that have been happening lately in EVE and what really is driving us there. So basically what you're seeing here is a graph that shows crashes per day happening for clients that are connecting to TQ. And this is a service that we actually enabled just recently around the Crucible expansion. But it's really interesting to see what this did for us. It showed us problems on a minute-by-minute basis, and some of these problems we could fix right away because we have really advanced parsing now to actually just show us essentially what the problem is. And that then drove us to this, which is that we really wanted more frequent releases. And the funny bit is that, for a long time, we've been doing these big 6-month expansions, and not much happening in between. Yes, fixes, some patches, but we want to try to spread this out. We're still going to do large expansions, but at the same time, we want to move to a model where we can be releasing the main line of code every month. And in order to do that, there's a lot of things that we have to address. And I think this picture actually sums up a situation that we've had at the company for a while. The feeling has been that if you wear your dev shirt on deployment day, everything will be okay. But you might wonder, what kind of engineering practice is that? Like somebody says, that's just Icelandic superstition. And I agree. And so we've been really hardening our processes and improve them. And as a part of that, we've put out this new thing, which is called the new EVE Launcher. And many of you have probably been scratching your heads and wondering, why are they doing this? What does this do for us? So I just wanted to take a few moments and talk about that. So before, what we were doing, we were creating these patches for you, and you were basically downloading them just over the internet using standard HTTP. The problem with that is that we actually don't control both endpoints. We really don't know what happens from the server and until it reaches your destination, which is your computer, because it's being handled essentially by your web browser. So if there are any problems on the way, we're unaware of them. So what the launcher does for us, it allows us to control both endpoints. So now, after we launched it, we've been looking at and finding out about all kinds of interesting problems that we actually didn't even know existed. There are all kinds of technologies that run on your computer or with your ISP, or somewhere in between that causes problems. And up to this day, we've been trying to debug them or figure out what they were, but we didn't really have proper data. This thing actually can report that back to us, which is really cool. The other thing this does for us is we can actually now release individual files as updates to your game, which means if we go back to the graph I showed you earlier, that a programmer has just checked in a fix, and we verified that the fix is good, we can actually be moving now to a model where we can just release that. We can put that new file on the CDN, and the launcher will pull it down for you. Now, going forward, we have some more interesting plans with the launcher. We want to move your login procedure to the launcher, so you could use your Google credentials or your Facebook credentials to log into Eve. So there's a lot of convenience that we can do and achieve. Yes, thank you, guy that's clapping. Awesome. Yeah. And it's all the same thing. We want to lower the barrier of just getting into the game and having fun. And the same goes for you that are using multiple clients. We've gotten great feedback, and we're incorporating that to make this the tool of awesome for people that have multiple clients. Another thing that I wanted to talk about briefly is actually the new Vivox client for Eve. So Clay Hillhouse and his team came here last year, and they actually held a roundtable with you, the players, where they asked, what do you not like about our current Vivox integration? One of the signals that came back loud and clear to them was, well, we would rather want something that's out of game, not in game. Because out of game means that if I have issues with a client or whatever, then yeah, that was the fire alarm, so I translate. Is that an actual alarm, or was just somebody smoking? Hilmar, back in your box. All right, at least we'll all burn here together. It's fine. Yeah. But what I was trying to say is that I think this is a great example of how we listen to feedback and incorporate it. And I think it's actually a pretty good turnaround time to come back 1 year later with this tool of awesome that's going to allow you to configure your voice chat the way you want to. And it's actually available today in beta, and we have a lot of things that have already now been planned for this, and Clay has been here with his team to receive more feedback on it. Now, as you may know, we've been supporting Windows and Mac OS for quite some while. We're adding Dust. We've also been expanding the support on the browser, and you've just seen, we just scratched the surface of what we can do there. But, we're rolling out now support for devices like iOS, Vita, and Android, and it's all enabled by the same technology, which is the Carbon REST API. So I wanted to take the opportunity Exactly, you applauded a little too soon. We need to rehearse this better next time. Now you applaud for these guys that build Carbon REST. And the name that you need to remember now is Team Cobra Kai. This is actually their name. That's their team name. I know, sweep the leg and all that. I don't know. I told them it's a crazy name, but they like it. So if you meet team members from Cobra Kai, give them a hug. So I want to take you back actually to the year 2007 now and talk about the Trinity expansion. In the Trinity expansion, we basically took you from what we thought was a pretty cool thing when we released it in 2003 on the left there to the model on the right, where we've added all kinds of new graphical effects that were then possible with latest hardware. And I can show you here another example. Here's the Emperor, and you can see how it transforms. And here's a list of all the things we did to it in the Trinity expansion to achieve this visual look. What I want to draw your attention to is this specific thing, the normal mapping. So normal mapping is just a lighting effect. It's not real geometry. It's kind of the illusion of detail. And so the problem with normal mapping is when you get close to the object, you'll notice that it's all fakery. It isn't actual geometry. But this is, in 2007, state of the art and what we could do then. And you can argue that our artists have done great things with this. This is a fairly recent screenshot. But what I wanted to point out is if you were to take the camera and do a close-up to the space station that's over there, you would notice that it's all fakery. Those lines that are there and you're seeing lighting on, those aren't actual real lines. And this is an issue for a game like EVE Online that has this really wide spectrum of size. You know, you go from a Titan down to a frigate. So, fast forward to the year now, 2012, and we have DirectX 11. Now, the interesting thing with DirectX 11 is that it brings this feature called tessellation that actually allows us to generate triangles, generate actual detail. And this is now made possible by some of the latest hardware. Now, the fact that you can do something doesn't necessarily mean that you should do it. So we partnered with nVidia to actually create a demo for you where we're going to show you what is possible with this technology. So to talk about that, I'm going to invite on stage Tony Tamasi, Senior VP at nVidia. Yeah, I don't know if you can read that, but you know, Tony is actually quite the EVE player.
I'm actually not a miner, I swear.
Nah. Anyway, let's get going then and turn on the demo. Please switch to the computer. Yeah, so what you're seeing here is essentially the Sancha ship, which is something that we're particularly proud of, and it turns out lends itself really well to the technology that we're about to demonstrate here. Right. And so, Tony, you probably want to talk a little bit about how this works.
Sure. So what we did is we took the base assets, the geometry and the normal maps and the textures, and then we used a technology called tessellation, which Hilmar mentioned, which can actually generate geometry from the base mesh, but it was never actually there in the first place, and it does that procedurally in the hardware. And it generates details that can receive light and cast shadow, which the normal mapping, which Hilmar mentioned, can't do, because that's just a flat surface. Yep. And so as you can see here, if we turn off the tessellation and you look at, say, the silhouette edge against the nebula, that's what that carrier looked like before we went to work. Yeah. Right? Now,
so, yeah, this is what it looks like current, as you saw it there when we switch it off, this is what it looks like today. And then we switch back on the tessellation, you know, pay attention to the fin where the cursor is, you can see all this detail being generated. So this detail was already there in the normal map, but there was no way for us to generate the actual real geometrical detail. But now we can.
Right. And then give you maybe a little sense of scale for what's going on here. Yeah. Let's go ahead and turn the wireframe on. Yeah. These are the triangles, the individual triangles that make up the geometry that is composing the Sancha ship here. Yeah. But if we turn the tessellation on and we let the hardware generate the detail, it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
In fact.
Yeah, exactly. As you can see, you know.
You like that? Is that cool? Yeah. To give you a little flavor for that, there's 500 million triangles being generated every second. That's right. 500 million. And this is run on a GeForce GTX 560, which, as it turns out, is the most commonly used graphics card in EVE. So this is not the craziest high-end unattainable thing. This is the most commonly used graphics card in Eve.
Yeah.
Just taking advantage of some of the latest technologies. So
Yeah.
let's take a look at some of the other capabilities that we can do with this.
Mm-hmm. And it's important to note that, of course, one of our tech artists and one of the modelers that built the ship had to come in and do some tweaks and adjustments to make it look this good. So here you see an asteroid, and what's really interesting about this asteroid is that it actually really looks like an asteroid. And if we would switch off tessellation, or let's switch off shadows first.
Yeah, take the shadows off first.
Yeah. And you can see the huge difference that it makes to have those shadows and how the contrasty shadows give it a look of an asteroid in space, right?
One of the cool things about having the tessellation, so let's turn off tessellation.
Yeah.
And then turn the shadows. And look at how harsh and jagged those shadows look. They don't look right.
Yeah.
They look like just triangles that are black.
Yeah.
But if you turn the tessellation on,
Yeah.
you get all the subtle detail because there's real geometry there to receive light and then cast a shadow just as it would in space.
Yeah, it's very important to understand that the actual geometry that we're generating is also taking part in generating the shadow. So the shadows perfectly match.
Yeah, so we have, the Ride the Asteroid cam here. So
Yeah.
why don't we go ahead and take a look at this one in wireframe, just to give you another sense of just how many
Triangles, we're generating. Yeah.
In fact, there's so many triangles there that it looks almost solid. Again, we're generating hundreds of millions of triangles every second, entirely procedurally by the power of the graphics processor. And this is what's going to give that kind of next level of detail and fidelity to the world.
Yep. And here Ian is playing with the actual tessellation count. And this is a pretty cool feature because this allows us to achieve scalability on your graphics cards, right, Tony?
That's right. So that slider that he's fiddling there, if you have a super high-end DirectX 11 graphics card, you can turn it up to 11, so to speak, and get literally more polygons than there are pixels on the screen.
Yeah.
If you don't happen to have the super ultra high-end graphics card,
and those are the things that will impress your girlfriend, by the way. I know.
Yeah. And if you don't have that same level of hardware, you can slide the slider down maybe to something a little bit more moderate and still experience a lot of that benefit without having to have $10,000 worth of graphics hardware in your PC.
But yeah, let's move to a different view of this real-time scene now, where we look at the ship and look at some other possibilities that we've been exploring in this demo. So, as you may have seen in Torvis' talk during the keynote on Eve, he was talking about mining in asteroid fields and rings around planets and just having a lot of asteroids on screen. And we've really never done that in Eve. So we decided to put together a demonstration of what we could do. And so you're seeing here, you should talk about this, Tony, and explain a little bit the detail that's going on here.
Right, so what we have here is an asteroid field with asteroids that are real geometry. They actually really will collide to the ship itself using the actual surface of the ship as opposed to some bounding sphere, which you're probably familiar with, bumping people off of station and whatnot. In this case, these asteroids not only can collide using a technology at nVidia called PhysX with the ship, they actually can shatter. It's called destruction or fracture. So as the asteroids hit and they impact, you'll notice some of them will break, they'll split, they can be affected by light, the resulting impact, and then send another piece of debris flying off, hitting another asteroid. So, mining belts is going to be pretty interesting, I think, with the level of detail and fidelity we're going to get out of PhysX.
And there's one thing here that we can't show you, which is that if you actually have active 3D glasses, this is amazingly cool. Because the interesting piece is that when we start doing tessellation, you actually get even more depth in your 3D experience.
Yeah, and of course, it's always fun to have asteroids flying at your face. So pretty cool stuff.
Yeah. So, so we think this looks pretty promising, and that's why we brought it here. I want to take this opportunity for you to give a round of applause to the people at nVidia that worked on this with us, specifically Ian Cantley.
Get away, man.
So the last piece on this, of course, is, should we do it, right? And to talk about that, we kind of need to frame what is it that we would need to do. And doing some calculations based on our experience now building this model, The work of upgrading the engine and then renovating most of the content would equate to be about 5 man-years. So in Scrum terminology, it's the equivalent of 1 team for a year. So that's the thing that I put now in your hands to form your opinion on, and we'll be watching the forums and seeing how you respond.
Maybe you want to put that in context with the previous graphics upgrade.
Yeah, I should absolutely do that. That's a good point. When we did the Trinity graphics upgrade, the work of actually renovating all the models, that was 50 man-years, 50. And so a considerable amount of the work that was needed for this was done then, but there's more work that's required.
That's right. So what do you guys think? Cool?
Is it cool?
Yeah?
All right. He said, "Do it." I heard one guy say, "Do it."
Then
Yeah.
I'm in. Are you
Yeah,
in?
yeah, I'm in.
All right.
Let's do it. Yeah. All right. Back to the PowerPoint. We could play with this, by the way, for a very long time. Yeah. Yeah. That comes later.
Yeah,
That comes later.
It's coming.
Yeah. But yeah, can we switch back to the PowerPoint now?
Get back to slides.
Because we promised to not spend too much time on this, but it's difficult.
Yeah,
It's
get my
just-
ugly mug off the screen.
It's just so cool. Yeah. All right. It's time for Fat
Loose.
Yes.
That's what it's all about.
Yes.
So there's some guys who killed some people.
Yeah. And we award that behavior.
And we reward that. So the PvP tournament winners are going to be getting a GTX 680 and a GeForce GTX 680. If you aren't aware of what that is, that's literally the latest, greatest thing that NVIDIA's engineered and released literally just a couple of days ago. So it's the highest end thing that currently exists literally on the planet from a graphics perspective, and each of them are going to be getting a GTX 680.
And it's actually a very interesting card because it's extremely power efficient. So it's very silent and doesn't need its own power station.
Yeah,
which is pretty cool.
Which in Iceland isn't really a problem, but
No,
I
it
hear
isn't
that
for
in
us.
other places in the world, you know,
Yeah.
electricity can be expensive.
So we were just quickly going to butcher the names, right?
Excellent.
Yeah. We're just going to go by first name,
names,
right?
First names.
So it's, you know, in the PvP tournament winners, Matti Maempa and Nico Taipanainen, and then you're going to do the Russian.
And I know that's Yuri, and I'm not even going to try.
Right? And then we have the first place losers, the tournament runners-up. So that's Joshua Bengtsson and John Bengtsson, and then...
Go for it.
Maciej Nowakovski.
Yeah? Good.
Yeah. And then the Battle of the Bands, right?
Yeah, and the Battle of the Band winners will be getting GTX 560s too.
Yep.
So that's John Zastro and Asher Drattel. Cool. So congratulations to all you guys.
Job well done. So now I want to talk about a very interesting thing. So for FanFest now, we offered you the possibility of buying your ticket to FanFest for Plex. And the question is, how does this work? And I want to just explain that. So you play Eve, and let's say you're pretty good at the game. I'm not. Actually, Tony's better than I am. He has more money than I do. I'm mostly just cannon footer. But anyway, let's say you're like Tony or even better, and you have accrued a lot of ISK. You can buy Plex for your ISK. And then you put in the Plex, you go to FanFest, and you do a stage dive like that guy, right? Pretty cool, right? I mean, but what does it leave behind? Okay, lasting memories, maybe some bruises, but not really tangible, right? And that's really where we want to take this. We want to take this to the next level and allow you to buy a graphics card for Plex.
You like that? Is that cool? So again, since we did this cool demo, it's on a GTX 560.
Yeah.
It's the most commonly and popular used card in EVE. We thought we'd put together a deal where we could let you buy a GTX 560, which is a DirectX 11 high-end graphics card with Plex.
Yeah. And I mean, it's going to simplify the discussions that usually happen on a Sunday evening, right? You know, honey, I want to play this game. And they're like, what are you doing? Well, you know, I'm making money. right?
Yeah.
I'm buying this card.
You said I
You
couldn't-
didn't want to give it to me for Christmas. You gave me the stupid sweater instead, right?
I'm sure that'll work well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah. Might need some massaging. So the price, of course, is a question, you know, and it's going to be $19.99 Plex. No, just kidding. That doesn't make any sense. Of course, it has the whole fraction, you know. So 20 Plex.
20 Plex.
That's the price. And you need to reveal some of the details on how this works.
Right, so what we're going to do is you'll be able to get to one per account. There'll be a limit, one per account. We'll put up a registration web page. At that point, you'll fill in your information that you want the board.
Yep.
The Plex will be deducted from your account, and the board will be shipped directly to your home.
Yeah, and shipping is included.
Yeah, well, shipping and everything is included,
included
in that.
in this price.
This is a full retail product.
Yeah.
And there's I think the limit's going to be 100 the first go around here.
Yes, 100 boards. And somebody asked me, well, why is it 100? Why? I mean, you can do the math pretty quickly, right? 100 boards means 2,000 Plex for Tony to
right.
fuel his monocle addiction.
You know. You know, I have to have it.
Yeah,
a lot.
Yeah. But I mean, to us, it's going to be really interesting, though. I mean, we see this as a tracer bullet in trying to do this, because we're really bridging virtual and real here. We don't know what custom officials and taxation authorities are going to do in each of your country. We're going to declare the value in Plex, and we will offer to pay them in ISK or Plex and tell them, you know, hey.
Eve is real.
Yeah, Eve is real. And I mean, I offer, please do this. We just want to see what happens.
And as far as I know, I'm not aware of this ever being done before, where a currency that can be earned completely in-game, a virtual currency, can be in exchange turned in for a real-world physical good.
Yep.
So I think we're probably going to be breaking all sorts of, or paving new ground is probably a better way to say it, international
Creating
trade laws.
trouble, yeah.
Yeah, hopefully Concord won't pot us, you know.
Yeah. And that's it for us.
Cool. Thanks, everybody.
Hey, guys. That was pretty cool. So, as you saw, we put the fire alarm for Halldor because he was late for practice. And that didn't unnerve him. And you wonder why. As you know, we've been running this thing with the balloon. There was a balloon in the Harpa earlier today. And we talked about, yesterday it was, yeah, that we might be able to launch the balloon, but there was too much wind. So we will do that later in the week. But there is a bigger plot to all of this than just sending EVE players into space based on what we talked about in December. And we put together, or some people put together, a video to sort of introduce this program a little more. So I'm now going to play it for you and dim the lights.
Oh, hello there. And welcome to CCP Mission Control. Man has always dreamed to float among the stars in the everlasting, ever-growing cosmos. In 1997, CCP was formed to fulfill that dream. Some of you have asked what CCP stands for, and I think it's appropriate that we reveal that now. CCP stands for the Classified Cosmonaut Project. A great man once said, if you want to make an apple pie from scratch, you must first create the universe. And so we did. We created the EVE universe. And now, after 15 years of continuous work on this universe, countless hours of simulations, and some failed experiments, we are finally ready to take our first actual steps into space.
Keeping the Cosmonaut project classified has required us to implement layer upon layer of deception. things may not be always what they appear to be. It has taken us many years to fund and build out this advanced facility. And throughout these years, we've assembled a crack team of scientists driven by a seemingly limitless ambition to fulfill our vision.
Okay, so there will be updates now coming over the next few days about this insanity. So you should check this each day and see what's going on. We'll be doing live updates as we progress on this program of Haldor's. I wonder how many sprint years it takes to make all the DirectX 11 stuff if it's not pretending to be Carl Sagan. Now, of course, this is something we've gone quite good at, so this doesn't really eat into actual bug fixing time, as we know. Okay, so we announced now in January that we have a new chief marketing officer at CCP, and marketing is something that is going to be way more of an emphasis for CCP now that we're launching our second product. And certainly we all know that more people should be playing EVE. We just need to tell them about it. And I wanted David to come here and introduce himself to all of you, because it's really important that we represent the game well, and it was really important that you guys know him. So I welcome on stage David Reed to give a bit of introduction of himself and talk a little bit about what we're planning.
Thanks, everyone, and thanks, Hilmar. I am fairly new here at CCP. I think I'm in my 9th or 10th week at this point. I've had 3 trips to Reykjavik, a couple to Atlanta, 1 to Boston. I'm going to Shanghai next month. I am getting a world tour on behalf of CCP. And although I am new to the company, I have been following CCP, and I've been following you, the EVE community, for many years now, and thought it might be appropriate to give you a little bit of that background, because in the end, knowing what the rest of the universe thinks about you as a community and you at EVE as a product and CCP as a company is part of the roadmap to success here, we believe. So with that, my first story of the CCP journey I've been on, it happens in 2006. We had just launched Xbox 360 at Microsoft, and I came across a really fascinating article in PC Gamer, in which an online game that I really hadn't heard anything about from some crazy Icelandic company I'd never heard about, had an event occur in the game that was really monumental to my mind. Number one, and for those who don't know, this is the documentation by PC Gamer of an event well known as the Heist, the Guiding Hand Social Club. Many of you lived this, I'm sure, and don't need the history lesson. But the things that resonated for me on this were really threefold. Number one, this was something that happened because of the players. This was not content that was written by designers in a game team somewhere. This was true emergent behavior that came out of an audience of gamers. The second thing that was interesting to me about this was we were able to look and understand exactly how much money, in terms of real-world currency, the virtual goods that were stolen in this heist were attributable to. It was a little over $18,000 US, and back in 2005, that's real money for virtual goods. This was pretty unheard of. And the third thing I found really amazing about this was that when there were people in the community who had an outcry about this, said, CCP, you have to do something about this. CCP's response was, well, we've looked. And nobody broke the rules of the game, nobody cheated, nobody broke the EULA. Life's hard sometimes, and I thought that was amazingly courageous to stay the course and let the sandbox go in the way that it had. This was a fascinating moment to me and really woke me up for what was going in online gaming. But I didn't get a chance to think much about it until about a year later in 2007. I had left Xbox. I had joined Turner Broadcasting to try and get more of a digital games background. And I got a call from a recruiter that I will never forget, where he said, hey, have you ever heard of this company, CCP? And of course I had. And he said, well, they did this acquisition, this company called White Wolf in Atlanta. Have you heard of them? And of course I had. As a tabletop gamer, I knew the World of Darkness franchise very well. And for me, it instantly connected. Imagine if you can do in the World of Darkness what people have been able to do in EVE Online. The politics, the economy, the Machiavellian struggles, the assassinations, the heists. This was pretty heady stuff and very exciting for me. I got to make a trip out here to Reykjavik as part of the interview process. Hilmar drove me halfway around the country to Akureyri, where we spent an evening in Rainier's vacation home. I have fuzzy memories of exactly what happened there with all the alcohol that was involved. But as it turned out, things didn't come together at that time, as sometimes they don't. And left on my own as a marketer in a wasteland of irrelevant video games, I roamed the earth, like the lone wanderer from Vault 101, searching for meaning in this video game universe. My first stop along the way there was with a company called NCSoft, tremendously successful company in Asia. Good portfolio of games there, and good portfolio of games in the West, as you probably know. With the exception of Guild Wars, very heavily rooted in subscription MMOs. And one of the things that was really happening there at NCSoft was the company was starting to see the change happening in Asia, where free-to-play games, microtransactions were starting to take hold. They were facing a lot of competition from the likes of Nexon and NHN and NeoWiz. And for a company that had basically been a public utility of many sorts in their home nation, where over 25% of the country had a Lineage account, this was some unknown stuff. Now, looking at the portfolio of titles NCSoft had, they all shared a certain curve. They have a launch, they swell their subscriber base, and over time they ultimately deteriorate to this asymptotic build of, there's a community there, but it's just not a very big game. And as a result of this, NCSoft decided that it was time for them to start exploring this free-to-play model, more search engines, social games, things like that, things that I had utterly no passion for as a gamer. And so I moved on to a company where I wanted to see the big bets continuing to be made in the deep-end AAA space of MMOs, and I joined Tryon Worlds in California in 2010. And when I got there, there was, again, no shortage of ambition here. Huge investments had been made to make a tremendous portfolio of MMOs. Not just RPGs, but real-time strategy games, a shooter in Defiance and things like that. But at the end of the day, the launch product that we had at the time, it was called Heroes of Talara, while it was solid, while it was pretty, it had tremendous graphics, there wasn't as much innovation there. And one of the things that really had to come to play was marketing. And so with that, we retooled a lot of what the company had been positioning itself as, and we came out with a campaign that I'm sure many of you saw. You may not have liked it, but if you were an MMORPG player playing a World of Warcraft or something like it, I'm pretty sure you couldn't ignore it. And that, in and of itself, made a tremendous amount of success happen for Tryon. Now, we had a great 2011, and CCP had a pretty interesting 2011, as many of you know and were part of. And as an outsider watching the company and having my discussions with Hilmar and the other execs over the years, there was something that stuck with me about how all this was happening. When the community was engaging with the development team and saying, we're not happy with what you're doing with our game. The game that we are building, the story we are telling, the business we are paying for, it was, again, a strong show of courage, I think, from this team to get out there and listen and admit mistakes and make some changes. But the thing that really was interesting to me about this was the subscriber curve grew again. The singular game in the universe that has grown every single year since its launch, 8 years in a row now, and I have had a chance to work on a bunch of MMOs, and none of them have ever done this, other than EVE Online. So, in all the irony of this, as Hilmar and I are having our last discussions and such, there's an interesting poll going on MMORPG about what game will be the game of the year, and of course, there were many people I worked here who were certain it was going to be Rift, and it was not. It was EVE Online. And for a company to go through the tumultuous year that it did, and to continue to grow, and to continue to listen to its community, and to rebound from what, for many companies, could have been a fatal blow, it was very clear to me that this was the place that I needed to be. And as a result, we were able to make it happen, and I joined the company in January. Now, part of being a marketing person is to take a look at what's going on in the world and try to assess what that means for us. So assuming the world does not end in 2012, what should we expect may happen? And there are a lot of things going on in the video game business, but there are three things in particular that I think are incredibly relevant to CCP, to EVE Online, and to Dust514. The first is something happening in the business that I am incredibly excited about, that I think of as the return to the core. If you're a gamer and you've been playing games all these years and you are proud of the achievements, the difficulty, the talent you have to bring to be successful in games, it's pretty horrifying to see what the big publishers in the world are investing their money in the shallow end, the mobile games, the social games, the casual games. Those are tremendous businesses, but once again, many of us as gamers just absolutely have no interest in that at all. And to see the great titans of the industry pursuing that side of the business is a little scary to us. It makes us wonder who is going to propel the industry forward. Now, that said, we're seeing from some of the big AAA companies now a move back in this direction. BioShock with its 1999 mode. Diablo 3 saying that you are going to have, in Hell mode, actual ramifications. You die in Hell mode, and you are going to lose durability on your units. You're seeing the success of a title like Dark Souls, like Demon Souls, which really, at the end of the day, are well known for their brutal difficulty, but I think are really reminding us that what gamers are looking for is that sense of achievement. Don't make it easy. Don't give me infinite resurrections. I want consequences. When I build a Titan in EVE and it takes me 6 months of intrigue and politics and mining and fighting and crafting and all the things I've got to do to make that happen, that is an epic achievement. And when I lose it in battle, that is an epic loss. And this is what we are now seeing gamers looking for, and no one has been doing this better than CCP and EVE Online over the years. The second thing that I've been looking at that is really interesting to most of us is the fact that all of a sudden, free-to-play games don't have to suck. I mean, free-to-play's been out in the market for a long time now, but for most of us as Western gamers, we've had a hard time seeing things we liked. That changed a bit with Turbine when they had their subscription MMOs that they converted to a free-to-play business, and we were like, okay, maybe there's something here, but the tide really turned with League of Legends. I mean, this is a game built for core gamers. This is not an easy game. This is not a game that pretends to be casual and is free to play because of a broader audience that it's aiming for. This is an unabashed core game for gamers, and it has had a fabulous level of success. Now, you might have thought League of Legends was a fluke until you saw World of Tanks. And now it's become clear to all of us that the free-to-play business is here to stay. The idea that the only way to be part of an MMO that is of a quality nature is to pay a mandatory subscription is clearly the past now. So with all of this in mind, right, it's important for us to think about how to take that free-to-play model, microtransaction-based commerce, and apply it to core gamer games. The third thing that I find really interesting about what's going on in the market right now is with our great partners at Sony. Now, you've seen the support that Sony has brought here to Fanfest with the PlayStation 3 kiosks, with the Vitas that you're seeing here. There is tremendous excitement between CCP and Sony for what we can do in the industry of taking a game like Dust514 in a free-to-play model and bringing it to the console. The first real AAA free-to-play game on the console business with 60 million people on the PlayStation Network with connected PS3s. Now, Sony has a competitor that I know pretty well and really have some fond memories of. But there is a fundamental difference here in the way Sony is approaching online gaming versus the way my alma mater is. And that, again, is the business model. That Sony has the free-to-play network. It is something that is so incredibly powerful that we are seeing happen in League of Legends and World of Tanks on the PC. It is coming to the console fast. And now, with Sony's partnership, we are able to bring the free-to-play network a AAA first-person shooter that is also for free. This is a titanic moment in the industry. It's not just the change that we saw from the orbital bombardment hitting Dust514 players on a planet. This is a change forever in how business is going to be done in this industry. And so with all of that in mind, right, when we think about what 2012 could be for us here at CCP, we have to think about how we proceed into the marketing laws and what we do. And so there's a few things here that I would say to you, we as a marketing organization are going to aspire to this year. The first are a couple things we're not going to try and do. And the first is that we don't need to try and make EVE something it isn't. EVE is hard. It is a hardcore game for real gamers. We don't need to make it soft. We don't need to make it easy. We don't need to apologize for the difficulty here. We don't need to change the business model. There is nothing in this business that has grown year over year over year the way EVE has. Marketing is not going to come to you and say, we need to change this business, we need to change this product in order to bring in new players. The second thing is a little similar. We're not going to come to this development team and say, we need new feature X. Feature X will bring more people into EVE Online. We need that development team building those Jesus features for you. For the people who've been keeping this story vibrant, who've been building this business for 8, 9 years now, that's where this development team is focusing its efforts. It's what you heard from John Lander, from Stouffer, from the rest of that team, and what you're going to continue to hear from this company, that EVE Online is focused its efforts, its development resources, primarily and almost exclusively on you, the existing player, and the stories you are telling. Now, with that in mind, there are a few things that we are going to do. The first, we are going to launch Dust as a AAA shooter. You are going to see Dust get a marketing campaign like nothing CCP has ever done before. This is a game that is targeted at the very person who's playing Call of Duty or Battlefield or Halo or something like that on the console, who has no idea what they are about to come into here. They have never, many of them will have never heard of CCP, will never have played EVE Online, and that's great, because they're going to jump into this first-person shooter, they're going to enjoy their moment-to-moment gameplay, and then they're going to find that contract that looks a little different from the ones the cute computer-run corporations are playing. They're going to realize there's another human being on there. This guy's on a PC MMORPG in another country, and the next thing you know, they're meeting in real life, they're coming to Fanfest, and they're getting tattoos right here with you next year. And it all begins now for that console gamer in a way where they are able to just pick up a gamepad and enjoy that AAA moment-to-moment gameplay for free in a way they've never done before. It is a tremendously exciting moment, and we are not going to compromise on our marketing campaign to make that moment happen here. The next thing we're going to do is make bigger and bigger moments out of our EVE expansions. We know Inferno is coming. We know there will be another big launch in the holiday. Those are not things that people are going to miss. We are going to market these in the way that AAA companies market AAA expansions. This is a big deal for us. We're adding a lot of content into the game every single year, more than once a year. These aren't the little dribble patches that we do. There will be a moment around Inferno, and there will be more to come. And the last thing that I warrant to you that we will do is we are going to portray the citizens of New Eden with authenticity. The stories that we hear from you, the things that you guys are able to do in game are tremendous. They are unique in this business. The stories of the heist and on and on and on. It's not hard to market this, people. You guys are doing a great job. You give us ammunition. You give us things that we can take to the audience. And it just goes on and on from there. You know, and when I think about where we could be at Fanfest next year, where we could be at the end of 2012, there is a singular focus that we as a marketing team have, an ambition that we have, that maybe only a company like CCP would be willing to state publicly. We believe that in 2012, if everything plays out right, we ship our games on time, we build things with high quality, we do the right marketing, we believe EVE plus Dust can be the largest video game universe in the world at the end of this year. And I got to tell you, at some level, you know, you think about the trends in the industry and things that are changing that could make that happen, and sometimes that's just being lucky and good and in the right place at the right time. But this really isn't something that's going to happen because of something we in marketing do. It's not some magic silver bullet campaign or some outrageous amount of money we spend. It's not something necessarily, any one feature that our EVE team or our Dust team do. There's something more important here that will make this happen. It's this. It's these kinds of stories that everybody knows, that even people who've never played EVE have heard, that makes them EVE curious. They're like, wow, there's something different going on in that universe, and I really want to get a part of it. It's more than that. It's this. There is no other game that has gone out of its way to have a democratically elected government from its players petitioning their developer to make changes. Again, as Hilmar said, you know, I'm proud to be an American, but I'm a little disappointed that we've had fewer people voting for Republican candidates to run against President Obama than the CSM election had here. I mean, it is fascinating to me that we as a nation of EVE gamers are more passionate about our virtual government than some places in America seem to be about their real government. And this tells me a lot. We as a nation in EVE, we have chosen to be here. We didn't end up here by an accident of birth. This isn't something that somebody made us do or made us vote for. We have selected our role in this place, and we are actively involved in it in a way that many people in this world are not in their real lives. But it's more than this. Now let me say up front, this is not a pro-goon swarm piece of propaganda I'm trying to say here. You may like Goon Swarm, you may hate Goon Swarm, you may be Goon Swarm. But what this is about in my mind is something amazing really happened here, where a group of people had an idea that they were going to come into EVE Online with a deliberate agenda to try and ruin it for people. And what happened? They became some of the best EVE Online players in the game. They have made more of these vibrant stories happen that people talk about all around the industry. But you're great at making that story happen. It is amazing to watch. It's more than that. It's the drama of last year. It's the protests that the players put. It's the emergency session from the CSM to come to Iceland. It's, you know, we had the Arab Spring, we had Occupy Wall Street, and we had the Jeddah uprisings. I mean, this is really crazy stuff here. And so in the end, if EVE plus Dust is able to create the world's largest video game universe this year, if we're able to sit here at Fanfest next year and look at everybody else and say we kicked your ass, it's because of you. It's because you guys have continued to tell these stories, to push this medium forward, to continue to help us propel the technology of gaming forward harder and faster than anybody else has had the guts to do, as they've all relied on sequels, that they've all retreated to the shallow end. This is a journey that you guys are driving, and I, as your marketing guy, am honored to be part of it. This has been a bit of an epic quest of my own here, talking to this company since 2007, and to be here on stage with you at FanFest on the cusp of launching Dust to keep EVE Online going, this is a great moment for me in my career, and I thank you for giving me that chance. Thanks very much.
So, do we like this guy? I like him too. I love this idea of the biggest gaming universe. I am all for that. So, not only are we going to do more marketing, but we're also going into new markets. Going into Japan with a Japanese localist client is something that we've been working on for a very long time. It started with a press tour. I went in September 2007, where we met a lot of partners. We talked to a lot of Japanese press, and we talked to the Japanese player base, which has been considerable ever since EVE got released. But then we didn't deliver a lot. We have made translations, and we made translation systems and localization systems, which have not been great. And we've not really been focusing on the Japanese community, and we needed to do a better job of that. We've now been working on that for quite some time, and it's actually coming now out in 4 days, which is quite a big moment for CCP. We're doing this together with a great company, with Nexon, who is one of the top online gaming companies in the world, and they're #1 online gaming company in Japan. And it's been a real joy to work with them, and they've helped us really sort of do what's needed to be successful, both with the translation And also with the system, we made a lot of improvements to our localization system. Part of that is, for example, we now are able to have sort of dual language because some of the key phrases in Eve are very important to know universally. So you can now sort of mouse over in your translated client and you can see the proper name of things in the global sense. And a lot of good things have come out of that. Also, there is a push towards allowing people to pay in their own currency. We saw John Lander made it his first priority to pay in his own nation's money. And we will also, through Nexon, allow Japanese players to pay in yen. We've already had a sort of a mini Fanfest in Tokyo. Toru went there and talked to the Japanese players. We have had a very solid community there ever since EQUAT launched. I remember talking to the first Japanese players sort of 2006 through translators, actually. They didn't speak any English. And I really want to just do a shout out to all the Japanese players which have been with us for all these years. We really appreciate your support, and we want to really thank you for waiting. Arigatou gozaimashita. And I also want to ask you, both the players here in the audience and players on the stream, and also the Japanese players, we need your help to really make EVE big in Japan. Anything you can do to welcome Japanese players to your corp. If you speak Japanese, going on the help channel and helping the new Japanese players. If you have a Japanese friend, then sign them up through a buddy system. And the continued effort in translating some of the tutorials which are available in English, which are amazing. That also will help tremendously. Here's some of the feedback. This is the trend since we released earlier in March, the first sort of beta of the translation, and we see a great pickup in usage of the translated version, which was not really used much before because it wasn't of good quality. And I also want to do a special shout out to the kick-ass team that made this happen. This has been a really big effort, touching everything at CCP to get this going. Out of this, we have a really robust system that allows us to go into other markets. So please give the Japanese strike team a huge applause. So it's coming next week, so prepare for the Japanese invasion. Speaking of Japan, then we have another great partner, Sony, who has come here in big force to Fanfest. You just have to go into the PvP room to really see it. They brought these 50 kiosks with them from London. I think these are about a good portion of these type of kiosks which exist in Europe. So there's been a huge showing of support from Sony here at Fanfest. And they're also giving a lot of prizes, which we'll cover later. But before we get to that, then I have here a video address from Andrew House, who is the president and CEO of Sony Computer Entertainment. And here we have a video address from him straight from Tokyo.
Thanks, Hilmar. Good evening, EVE fans, and greetings from Tokyo. I'm sorry that I couldn't be with you today to express in person how excited we are at Sony Computer Entertainment to be joining your universe. CCP has demonstrated over the last 15 years that they're one of the most innovative gaming companies in the world, and the passion and dedication of you, the EVE Online community, is a testament to that. We could think of no better partner in the massively multiplayer genre than the team at CCP. The prospect of connecting you and your experiences with our own flourishing PlayStation community through Dust514 is something which I find very compelling, and I can't wait to see the results of this ambitious project. In addition to the relationship with EVE Online, Dust514 is made distinctive by its meaningful integration with PlayStation Vita and PlayStation Home, giving PS3 owners a unique and multifaceted experience unlike anything currently available. At PlayStation, we're driven by the desire to deliver rich content and deep immersive experiences, and Dust514 is a title which perfectly aligns with these goals. I hope you've enjoyed what you've seen of the game so far, and look forward to seeing your empires in the EVE universe. Thanks, and enjoy the rest of the show.
One of the things they brought, and is the surprise prize at the show for the best key ratio, are these crazy futuristic OLED glasses with built-in 3D and craziness. And they look like something out of some sci-fi. And we'll be announcing the lucky winner of this later on. And to help me talk a little more about sort of Sony's impression here from Fanfest and the prizes, then we have here Andrew Parsons from Sony.
Hi, Hilmar. Thanks very much, Hilmar. Good afternoon, everybody. Great to see Andy giving a clear indication, really, of our commitment to CCP and to our partnership, and also to Dust, of course. I was in a bar last night with Atlee. Well, I guess there's probably a few stories that start like that, but I was in a bar with Atlee, and he was talking about the journey, and he's right. It's been a journey. It's been 3.5 years to get to this point. And I think the interesting thing really is that it's also the start of a journey, I think, for Sony and for CCP and for Dust. I came here last year, but left before Fanfest itself got underway, probably my mistake. But it's really great to be back here again this year and to be able to be talking about Dust and to be doing so as a AAA PlayStation exclusive space shooter. That's really something. But to be doing so to everybody here, the most dedicated, the most committed, and the most discerning of EVE players is really quite something. And I think for me, the really important thing is that to see the reaction and the overwhelmingly positive reaction to Dust from all you guys is what I take back to London with me. I think probably equally important, probably more so almost, is that all the lore and story of EVE begins now for Dust. You know, what you guys do in the way of meta play and of strategic and epic battles.
Yeah, that's right. We had the first case of bribe occurring yesterday. I heard about that.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
It's pretty
Absolutely
amazing.
Fantastic. And for me, you know, yeah, you guys, brilliant. Brilliant to see. And amazing, really, to see the start of that story now being written for Dust. And it's you guys who are going to write that. It's you guys who are going to tell that story. So absolutely fantastic. And you know, thank you so much for giving me the time to be here today and the opportunity to talk to you. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Andrew. So here are the second place winners. They each get their own PlayStation 3, which is going to be shipped to their home, so they don't have to drag it through Icelandic custom and into their own. And Andrew is going to take care of all the international logistics of getting everyone with their PlayStation. These are the winners. Yeah. And they each get a PlayStation 3 and a PlayStation Vita, so they can have the full Dust experience. This is the lucky guy that's going to get the futuristic 3D visor. And let's all give him a huge applause.
Fantastic.
Thank you, Andrew.
Cheers.
So, to talk a little bit about Dust and his sort of impressions from Fanfest overall, we have Brandon Laurino, who's coming here as the executive producer of Dust514. Brandon has done a Herculean task on getting the game to this stage, and you should really give him one amazing applause when he walks on stage. He's done almost the impossible by getting this up here and on to the four-way split screen we just watched on Thursday. So please welcome Brandon Laurino.
Hello. 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 All right. Hi, everyone. Yeah, Hilmar wanted me to come out and just give a little bit of my impressions of my first FanFest. And, you know, I've been to a lot of conventions, been working in video games for a while. You know, I've been to E3, GDC, Gamescom, TGS, Comic-Con, PAX, CES. They're all great. I've had great times, gotten really drunk at all of them. It's good stuff, you know. But FanFest is truly special. I mean, I've never worked on a project where you have this kind of interaction with the community, and it's just unbelievable. You know, you guys have been doing this for almost 8 years now, and you've really established an amazing venue and format to have a dialogue together and really, you know, be involved in what we do, how we make this game. You know, and it's not just a one-way street from CCP. It's not just a convention where here we are, you know, giving these presentations. I mean, you guys have some presentations as well, the CSM, the Alliance, and, you know, just had a great time, you know, meeting with the CSM. Shout out to CSM, that was awesome, you know, spending time with you guys. Yeah, give them a round of applause, yeah. CSM, that was really cool. And again, just a testament to, you know, what an amazing thing we have here. We're the only video game company in the world that has something like that. A council that consults with us and is involved in development. It's just incredible. You know, and meeting the Alliance leaders and spending time with them, getting drunk with them, and getting drunk with all of you. And spending time with all of you that came up and, you know, just gave your impressions and gave feedback. And we're just really passionate about what we're doing. And you know, it's just a chance to share and discuss things openly and in depth like nothing I've ever experienced on a project. And I really mean that. It's really incredible. So just give yourselves a round of applause for being involved in all this. And again, it's a two-way street. You know, it's your candor with us, but it's also, you know, what CCP enables us, the developers, to be, you know, open and candid with you. I mean, again, it's not normal for a company to just let us, you know, have this kind of relationship together, and it's just incredible. So, yeah, this was awesome. Thanks, everyone. So yeah, Dust at Fanfest 2012, you know, we had a bunch of sessions, and those were awesome. The Seeding the Universe presentation by Karten. I just want to talk a little bit about some of the feedback that we got, which was great, you know. You know, we mentioned that we're going to, you know, first be on temperate planets in the EVE universe, and, you know, then, you know, as we said, we're taking sort of baby steps. We have these building blocks. We're going to work on it with you, but right after the Seeding the Universe presentation, all of a sudden you guys are talking about, well, what about wormholes, you know? And I want to be on non-temperate planets. I want to be on hostile planets, you know? And talking about fixing planetary anomalies and what are we going to do about lava planets that are frozen over and things like that. And will gravity differ on different planets, and wanting zero-G encounters. So, you know, we're at a place now where you guys are just wanting more, and that was just awesome, you know? So, because again, we were coming in here pretty conservative, you know, and we should be, you know, we want to do things right with you all. But now the enthusiasm for some of these kind of features is really encouraging, and we're going to listen to you, so keep it coming. Roles on the battlefield, you know, the interest in electronic warfare and combined roles. The high interest in the granular details, of course, being EVE players, so really being able to dig into that with you all is, again, just incredible. And talking about the industrialist role and about how EVE players can, you know, manufacture items for Dust players manufacturing things, and all that kind of relationship between the two games was just super interesting, having that dialogue with you. Orbital warfare, of course, everyone wanted to know more details about the orbital strike that we showed. And yeah, you know, we did reveal, you know, that wasn't a Titan strike, right? And we have some exciting things in mind for that, and we discussed that with a lot of you and got a lot of great feedback on how that might play out. So, you know, again, we're really encouraged by all the feedback, and it's just awesome. And then these last ones happened today, the open forum and the Alliance meeting, but so I didn't really have time to make too many notes on that, but you know, again, just lots of great feedback. The open forum just wound up just being like a 3-hour session where we were just all hashing it out, and turnout was awesome. You all just packed all of our sessions, and the conversation has officially begun. So now we're going to work on this together, and we just want to keep that dialogue going, and I really thank you all for it. Yeah. Applause again. It's awesome. It's really awesome. So I just wanted to, you know, just quickly summarize some of the stuff in case you haven't had a chance to go to the sessions and get in all the granular details of what the EVE Dust Link gameplay is. But before I get into, you know, some of these features that everyone's really excited about, I just want to reiterate, the EVE Dust Link starts with the fact that every Eve player and every Dust player are logged into the same server. So the Eve Dust link really starts there. And then, the mail system is the same, chat is the same, market, the economy. So the Eve Dust link is really at a fundamental level like that. But then, of course, we want to talk about this stuff, the gameplay features. So as we've discussed, we have the orbital command center, which is the space side object that Eve players can own, and the surface command center, which is the Dust side, planet side object that Dust players can own. And of course, Eve players can own it and all that, but that's the object on the planet, and then you can build more things on the planet, like the orbital artillery, which is the thing that can strike up into space from the planet surface, and the orbital bombardment, which we showed, which can strike from space down to the planet surface. And of course, you're doing this over resources, faction warfare, and planetary control. So, of course, we have a sketch by our wonderful Carten Pierre Emelson, which many of you enjoyed some of his sketches in some of our presentations. They're really great. And that sort of sums up some of the basic building blocks that we're coming into this with. And I just want to summarize this for all of you in case you didn't get a chance to catch all of those details in the last couple of days. I did want to spend another moment, because we didn't talk about it in any other session, talking about our Dust514 companion app. So we do have a companion app coming for PlayStation Vita. It's in active development, and it's coming along great in 2012. The tentative title is the Dust514 Neocom. It's not a full port, but Neocom obviously implies where we're going with it. It includes features like market, skills, mail, chat, fitting, star map. But we are, of course, evaluating bleeding-edge features, the real-time Vita PS3 gameplay possibilities, and all the interesting places we can go with multi-boxing. So we're really taking multi-boxing to a new level, which is like a super hardcore, awesome thing to do. And then just to reiterate details about the beta, in case you didn't catch it before, we're currently in closed beta. Fanfest attendees, or all of you, are going to get in April. And we'll have, of course, all of the tools that we commonly provide, be it social media, be it forums, for you to keep giving this feedback to us even when we're not here in person at Fanfest, and I really implore you to please do so. It's incredible. We're going to have additional entry waves between April and June, and we're going to open up really big in June around E3. But again, we're taking our time to iterate and make it right. The Eve Dust gameplay will be rolled out in very close collaboration with you all, and again, I really thank you for your participation in this process. So again, thanks for your feedback, and keep in touch. That's my Twitter name over there. But, of course, would you like one more thing? Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, yeah, the feedback was so great. I really just wanted to speak to some of those questions that came up earlier. And how about a couple more things on top of that? I felt like I should drop, a few bombs right now. All right. Okay, all right, I'll do it then. Yeah, the reaction was so great, and we really felt the love here at Fanfest this year. So I put together some slides quickly this morning to show off a couple of things, to address some questions that you were asking, and just drop a couple more bombs, just make a couple more announcements just for the hell of it. So here we go. Question number 1. What about PvE? Yes, we will have PvE. Rogue drones in what we're calling survival game mode. So if you're familiar with horde mode or zombie mode, that's what you're going to be doing. You're going to be fending off the Dust version of rogue drones on the planet's surface. And would you like to see some pictures of it? Yeah. Okay. So before I get into this, section of the presentation, again, keep in mind now, on top of just, you getting your hands on the beta and that still being a very early work in progress, we're still iterating on it and making lots of improvements to it, graphical improvements, gameplay improvements, feature improvements. The stuff I'm about to show you is really rough. So again, I just want to re-emphasize that before I show you these pictures, but I think it's looking pretty cool. Yeah. So yeah, that's what that's looking like. All right. So yeah, you get a sense of the scale there, and you can see we've got different kinds of drones going on, and yeah, it's going to be awesome. So you'll be holding down outposts and fending off drones and doing PvE stuff. That's just one example of the PvE experience that we have for you in Dust, and that's coming 2012, by the way. Another little announcement there, so yeah. All right, question number 2. What about competitive gaming and esports? So this was a really interesting question that came up. You know, a lot of you had observed, and we've been observing it as well, that the esports is not really, you know, well facilitated in shooters these days, and we agree. And we have some pretty awesome ideas around it, and I've been kind of cagey about it over the last couple of days, so I just decided to, you know, announce something about it. So yes, we will have specific competitive gaming features with an expansion in early 13, and it's gladiator arenas. So take a moment to contemplate this possibility. We're talking about gladiator arenas in the EVE universe. So this allows us to support game modes like capture the flag and solo deathmatch and custom matches. And it includes betting and viewing matches in EVE and Dust. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. So if you contemplate the possibility of us bringing that as a true sport in the EVE universe, we're really taking esports to the next level with that. So yeah, I got so many questions about it, I thought it'd be cool to, you know, just announce it right now. Question number 3. What about hostile non-tempered environments, things like lava, gas, snow, and ice planets? You know, as I mentioned earlier, that's something that came up after the Seeding the Universe presentation. So, yes, we're looking at doing that in expansion in 13. And would you like to, you know, see some pics of that? All right. So for example, you know, this is some stuff we're experimenting with. This is nothing final. I'm just giving you a glimpse at it, just for the hell of it. So that's what it's sort of looking like there. So there you see we've got an example of some of the exploration and stuff you could do on a lava planet. And of course, because it's a really hostile environment, we're thinking about stuff like, you know, needing vehicles to get around and some interesting gameplay possibilities around that. And you should keep this in mind when I get to the next question. Question 4. What about M-tags? Hold on, I didn't announce anything. I didn't announce anything yet. Yes. So yeah, that question came up a lot, and I just want to let you know we definitely plan on having them in Dust, and of course, there's lots of gameplay possibilities that come along with that, and that's coming with an expansion in 13. So, just a quick recap. We're a AAA free-to-play MMO FPS. You play in the persistent single-shard EVE universe in real time with EVE Online users on PC and Mac. And we're launching exclusively on PlayStation 3 in 2012. Thanks, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Do it again. Applaud him again. That was good. Okay, so now we're going to have John Lander back, and he's going to both recap a bit what was going on Friday, and also to extend it a little bit and open it up. So please welcome on stage Mr. the President, John Lander.
Hello again. Croaky voice. How was last night? Good? I hope you had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun. I know a certain CCP senior producer's been showing a video of me showing my moves on the dance floor. Thank you, Chris McDonough. But as I did with Hilmar yesterday, I can find bad pictures of anybody, so my revenge will come one day. I may save it for next year. It was actually a really good experience for me, just actually getting a chance to speak one-to-one with an awful lot of you yesterday. Just got an awful lot of feedback on things that have happened, things that we're planning, and a lot of that feedback was sort of based on the EVE keynote. So I kind of tore up what I was going to say here and kind of rewrote things to answer the questions that people were asking me yesterday. So this is a little recap. and just sort of emphasizing a few points that people really wanted me to make. So one guy came up to me in Uster, bought me a beer, and said, "You cannot tell us enough that the core game is what's important to you right now." So I'm going to say it again. Eve has got this infernal, or some people call it the perpetual machine, of harvesting resources, building things with that, and then blowing them up. And then that cycle starting all again. And that really is the core of what our game is. So that is what we're going to be focusing on. That is what we're actually going to be working on as we go forward. And we're a nearly 9-year-old game. There is a huge amount in our game that we can expand upon, that we can build upon, that we can actually refresh, bring up to date, to make the game just a much more vibrant experience. And Crucible really was the start of that. A huge number of fixes, renovations, balancing. We put new ships and some new modules in there. We did a whole load of performance improvements. And I've seen on forums, I've seen on Twitter, I've seen on Facebook, and people were coming up to me yesterday and saying this. Was Crucible a one-off? We really like Crucible, but we want to believe that it's just the start of a trend. And absolutely it is. It's not going to change. We're going to be working on that game. We're going to be working on the systems which really need it. We're going to stop forgetting about things, stop just leaving them to go stale and get old. We're going to make sure that we completely revamp Eve over the next few years. And the next one really was, please listen to us. Please keep the communication open. Crucible was a really great step forward. The amount of interaction between the developers, between you, the players, really started ratcheting up from what had been a pretty low point. And there are a huge number of different venues open for us. So I've been in a couple of the round tables where I've heard things which actually really surprised me. People who were telling me that they really wanted to have the ability to customize their characters, even though nobody else could see them. They just wanted the ability to really have that individuality. And we had a really good discussion about balancing the relative merits of that. Sitting down with the UK players. These roundtables, these Q&A sessions, these quiet meetings in bars are a great way for us to find out the many, many varied views. I think on Wednesday night, I managed to have my ear bent in about 40 different directions about what we should do with Titans. Everybody seems to have a different idea about it. But it's fantastic for us to get that information in. We look at the forums a lot to see what you guys are saying. We've got a number of tools. There's a great tool just down in the bottom left there, which is called Clara, where we can put certain search terms in and we can see how those are being referenced on the forums. Are they in a positive light? Are they in a negative light? And that gives us the ability to just basically parse through the huge amount of information that you guys give us and get a real good feeling for some of the trends and where we need to start digging in detail. Like I said, we've been doing the video dev blogs. We've been doing much more blogging. Hopefully you've seen an increased presence of the developers on the forums. That's a real concentrated effort by us to really begin to engage with you again and build up a meaningful dialogue that takes place on an ongoing basis, not just when things are on fire. So all of this is phenomenally important to us, and especially so the Council of Stellar Management. So we have a new one, some new faces, some familiar ones. I'm looking forward to really building up that relationship, that really good working relationship that we have with the CSM, to act as that set of go-betweens between the community and us. I personally think they hugely proved their worth in the last year. They were everything that we needed them to be, and they did everything that they needed to do whilst we were going through some interesting times. So thank you to CSM6. You were great, and I welcome CSM7, and I hope to have a few beers with you tonight and start swapping some stories. And then the other thing really was around take some time to make the fundamentals of just what you're giving to us better. Get the stability better. Get the frame rate better. Get the way you deploy better. Make sure that you guys can continue to develop at an increasing rate. That takes effort. We haven't always put it in to ourselves. We're going to do a bit more of that in 2012 so that we're actually able to push out a significantly better quality product to you faster and more often. We need to make sure that the engine room of Eve, the technology that we're doing, the way that we're getting the game to you is as good as we possibly can. And that takes some effort, but it's effort that we're fully committed to putting in. Another question that came up last night was around the escalation to Inferno, April 24th release, and Inferno on May 22nd. And it was really, can you give us like just what exactly is going to be in each of these releases? So development schedules are subject to change. I had to go through a number of the product owners yesterday evening just to work out which bits we were confident of putting up here to set your expectations. But the escalation to Inferno, the precursor patch, we're going to be iterating on incursions. There's going to be a load of work going into that. We're looking at iterating on rogue drones. We're looking at how those affect certain regions. We're looking at how they affect the markets. We're looking at how they affect various mini professions. We're going to be doing an iteration on those. And as you've seen in a number of presentations, and Guillaume, CCP Eterbium, has done a great job, I think, in just outlining what our strategy is for balancing ships. We're going to have some ship balancing in escalation. The real tiny atomic details of this will be coming out in dev blogs over the next few days and weeks. So then on to Inferno, May 22nd, which has been set up by the escalation. And what have we got in there? So we have the new war declaration system and mercenary marketplace. Soundwave was telling you a bit about this yesterday. Those, for me, take Eve back to its roots. These are not gameplay systems that say, do A, do B, do C, and do D, and then push button, get bacon. It's not that kind of hold your hand and lead you down the garden path. This is a framework, this is a set of tools, which I know you guys will exploit and abuse to its fullest. But only you will be able to find those things out. This is about giving you the sandbox again. This is pouring a bit more sand into the box and letting you guys make the stories that need to be told. We're going to completely mix up how people fit their ships. Right now, you look at a ship hull, there's a cookie cutter setup for it. We're going to introduce a ton of new modules over the coming months. They are going to change things. They're going to enable new tactics. They're going to be giving you better advantages. They're going to give you different ways to fit your ships for different roles. And I think it's going to lead to some fantastic EFTing, some great theory crafting. With the Alliance tournament coming up, it's going to be incredibly interesting to see how those new modules actually really just shake up fleet compositions in Eve. We've got factional warfare. So I know that there's been roundtables and presentations on the plans that we have for factional warfare. I think it's incredibly important for us to continue to go back to some of these older systems which have been left behind and inject a bit of the here and now into them. And I think setting these up for when Dust comes online so that there is interaction in a really meaningful way between Eve and Dust players, I think this gives us an amazing framework to work on. We have other things, unified inventory, missile effects. So the missiles you saw in the trailer yesterday have had a complete rework. We'll have new effects around the modules. We've got all of the launches which are coming online in Inferno. And if, like me, you're a bomber pilot, you'll love the one on the bottom right. It looks absolutely awesome when you're dropping bombs on people. What other things have we got? So the V3 momentum's continuing. Someone was really concerned that Minmatar were being left behind. No, they're not. So we'll have V3'd all of the races. We've got additional sleeve tattoos. We've got additional character customization options. We're continuing to work on that. And just like in Crucible, there'll be a whole load of little things. There will be UI improvements. There'll be fixes. There'll be performance improvements. So we're keeping our commitment to making sure that we're delivering not just iterations on existing features, new things in areas where we know we are the experts, but we're also continuing to fix the game as we go along. You saw earlier the DX11 demo with Tony and Haldor. And that, for me, is a kind of a clear indicator on some of the direction that we want to go in. And Haldor is absolutely correct. I want to make sure that this is something that you guys want before I start looking at how we actually get developers on it. I mean, is this something you want to see? Not sure, really? Okay, that's a good indicator. We'll be posting up on the forums, and we'll see what the response is like there as well. But it's important that we actually work on these new longer-term projects, knowing that they're actually something that will benefit you guys, something that you want. So that's a good indicator, especially when you also think about some of the other things that Soundwave said yesterday about ring mining. You saw asteroids bouncing into ships. You saw asteroids fracturing. Just having those kinds of game systems when we also have things like moon mining, ring mining in place, will just be, I think it enables us to develop the immersiveness of our world. And it will actually make it something which is truly revolutionary and something which everybody will really want to get involved in. Avatar. The development on these is continuing on a really slow burn. We've got a great team who are looking at what the options are on this for us. We are going to make sure that we find the right thing to do with this and then find the right plan to do it so that we're actually able to really build upon the foundations that we put in place. There will be one key difference, though. We will find a way to be able to build an Avatar game without detracting from the core game of Eve. We'll still do that. If we want to do these other projects, they need to be in addition to, not instead of. And so when we know the exact direction we want to go with avatars, we'll be able to do that without compromising the rest of the game. Dust514 is almost here. And I see that as the opportunities which getting touch points in a single universe between EVE Online and Dust514, as those touch points increase, as we get more of them, I think it just gives more opportunities to EVE players to do good things in the EVE game. The reaction from you when you saw the orbital bombardment was fantastic on Thursday. The way that teams have gone in and played Dust on in the PvP arena, and the enthusiasm and the live FCing without any voice comms, just shouting over the noise of everybody else. That's the man. That has been absolutely amazing to see. I think that Dust514 is going to be probably the biggest expansion we've ever had to EVE. I think the opportunities that we have will be amazing. And I don't need to put very many developers on it because Brandon's got a huge studio in Shanghai that are doing it. So this is just how additions to that EVE universe we need to make sure offer really compelling and rich game experiences for you, the EVE players. And that's a commitment we're going to make. But we've got some strong foundations. We've made some good starts. But we really are concentrating on these things. I want to see this chart grow. I want to see there to be more ships. I want there to be more options for players to do the great things that they do. And this is the direction that we're headed in. But it's really, really, really important that we still have a strong, compelling vision for the new things that we want to do. If we have that vision, if we have those really strong ideas of exactly what we want to do with EVE in the future, it enables us to put proper plans in place so that we can keep all of the moving parts headed in the same direction. So I'm going to be the boring, sensible guy who delivers on these things for you guys now. What I do want to do, though, is invite someone onto the stage who's going to take us through some of the more future visionary things that we're beginning to think of for Eve, so that we can gauge your reaction to it. I saw a Twitter, I think it was Twitter, where this guy was described as the David Beckham of nerds. And I wondered what it was, and then I looked at him and did the double take, and I was like, yeah, actually, you're spot on. So I'd like to invite onto stage our creative director, CCP Tove Frans.
Hi, everyone. We were a bit worried. It was a very difficult night last night. It's been a very long day for you all. There was a couple of Z's over your heads on the video stream, so I brought my assistant here.
And we're going to do a wave. Yeah. So Torve and I are going to start. We're going to go the front row, and then we're going to do it. Everyone ready?
Hang on. There's one more thing. Once we do the wave goes all the way up. Yeah. The wave has to go back. When it comes over here, it's up to you guys.
Okay. Are we good? Okay. 1, 2, 3, go! Yeah. Go up and down again. Down. Yeah. Come on. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Wow. Brilliant Fanfest. John touched on this a little bit. I want to talk to you about the circle of life and death, of course, as it applies to Eve. Eve is an eternal game. We talk about Eve for infinity and a perpetual machine. And there are a couple of building blocks that you need when you have a perpetual machine, a world that goes constantly in circles. There's this circle of harvesting, crafting, and destroying, which essentially makes the game tick. There are other things to it, but basically you cannot have a proper sandbox game without actually having all of these pillars and having them healthy. Right now, we have been focusing mostly on the destroy part, which is nice, which is good fun. And we will be doing more with destruction, of course. Like the theme of the upcoming expansion Inferno is war, and this is not from the upcoming expansion. A little experiment that we've been trying to playing around with, which is doing further destruction, things like being destroyed. Pretty beautiful. There never is enough stuff burning and being destroyed. You know this feeling of just wanting to destroy something beautiful, like a titan. Then, our next phase will be to focus, we're not forgetting about destroying, but to focus on the harvesting part of EVE Online. Ring mining. Our vision for ring mining is to have it somewhat different than typical mining. It will be a more calm, more soothe, more kind of collaborative experience. There will be danger as well. You will be working together more like, it's kind of like fishing. Stoffer mentioned this yesterday. It's like trawlers working together, trying to find where the fish are and the elusive veins of that perfect resources in the veins are there somewhere, and you're trying to find them together, and once you find them, you find a nice vein, and you carry on forever, and then it goes to a dead end, and you find another one. And there was this great suggestion to actually move moon minerals into the rings, or allow you to like harvest moon minerals in there. And I'm actually pretty excited about it. The ideas that we've been throwing around have a really nice aesthetic to it and a really nice feel to it. And it will be a really good boost for mining, both from an experience and from a pure money-making point. Secondly, once we have kind of solidified the foundations for harvesting, we will look at crafting. Now, crafting sounds medievally, of course. We're not crafting, we're just doing industry and manufacturing and so on, but it's really crafting. Crafting is, or industry is done more in starbases where it should be done. So we went on our forums and said, what should we do? We should boost POSes. We should build a cool POS system. We should build a nice starbase system which allows you to construct your own platforms in space in a modular manner, both functionally and aesthetically, and have all these pieces fit together and progressively own and build perhaps the first installation which allows you to build the next one and so on. And it's just cool stuff. And this is something that we're thinking about to be more accessible than the current starbases, something that, you know, maybe just a single player or a small group of players can establish a little foothold in space. Something, who knows, something like this, but just in space. I'm getting a very hesitant applause from over there because they're the ones that are going to have to implement this. But I'm not like promising this. We're also, I mean, of course, we're going to deepen the connection between Eve and Dust. The planetary bombardment that you saw here on Thursday, we look at it as a beachhead in the communication between the two games. It's our first move in connecting the two, but once the link is there, once the server is up and running, once matches are occurring, and most importantly, once we see how you play it, we will deepen the link and make it more meaningful. Secondly, or thirdly, or quarterly, I don't know where we are, but we are going to take stuff away from these NPCs. They think they rule the world, they think they own the world, but the people that rule New Eden are you, the capsuleers. So in that manner, for example, it was a good experiment when we kind of took the customs offices around the planets and put them into your hands, like out of the hands of the NPCs. And that has proven to be a very valuable experiment, and we have learned a lot from how to do it, and both good lessons and bad lessons. And our vision is eventually that almost all services run in stations, and stations themselves are owned or run by you, the players, the corporations and alliances. We think you couldn't really launch a sandbox game and have it like that. That would be more difficult. It has been like a progressive evolution where you have grown up, so you can be so responsible to actually run Jita or whatever. We also want to make smuggling should be exciting. You do it for the kicks, even. You don't necessarily do it for all of the money. You just do it. Someone said in the dev team, it should feel like shoplifting. You should, like, not that I would know. It's that rush you get when you're like jumping through the gate and you're being chased down and you just don't want to get caught like her. Boosting low sec. That little malnourished and neglected child of New Eden. Lowsec is far too lonely right now. It lacks rewards, it lacks purpose, it lacks action. We will change all of that. Also, and we have started doing this already, just improve presenting what's already there. Improve the presentation of the awesome combat, of the awesome things that are happening in your game. Things like seeing beams actually hit the shields of your ships when they are actually doing damage to your ship. Picture of your target. seeing actual damage being done to your hull. You saw some of you may have been in the art panel earlier today where they showed examples of how you could actually look inside the ship that was partially destroyed. And of course, watching them burn more properly. It also ties into technology. I mean, progressively, your rigs are getting better and better, and your computers are better at rendering what we have. And Team Gridlock is making the client better and better, so we can allow ourselves the luxury of showing more beautiful art and more beautiful explosion. A testament to that is the improvement that we're doing with the missile launchers. We couldn't have done it several years ago because simply the computers wouldn't have supported it. Another thing that we're kind of toying with, no promises here, is a tactical view, a real tactical view. This is This means a more abstract representation of the battlefield for when you want it. For example, if you are engaged in a large fleet fight, or if you're running level 4s or whatever, you shouldn't be running level 4s, you should be interacting with people. Anyway, if you are engaged in these, that you can like toggle and switch and get a much clearer picture of the battlefield itself. And then when you want to, notice the little picture-in-picture up there in the corner, see the punishment that you're instilling on your enemy. You still see him like burn and die properly in beautiful 3D, but you have a more more abstract presentation of the battlefield. We also want to make avatar gameplay more meaningful. We really took one step back, or multiple steps back, depending on how we want to phrase it, and have moved away from the kind of pure socialization / customization themes of avatar gameplay. And we are exploring how we can use the exact same design principles as we use in space on perpetual machines, on emergence, on awe and wonder, and all of these elements that we love in space, and use the same principles inside avatar gameplay. And one idea that we're working with right now, notice like the non-committal way I'm presenting this, that we are working with, is exploring abandoned installations and outposts somewhere in space, maybe in sleeper space, maybe you have to scan them down, recovering artifacts, tiny things, perhaps something that you use to build new implants and stuff, or discovering ancient technologies. But these environments are full of danger and radiation, and maybe the AI has gone bad or whatever. And we're not talking about closed instances here or like some Care Bear-esque kind of isolated experiences. No, someone else might just come in there, weld the door shut, and close you in for life. And there's a lot more things that we are fantasizing about and we are thinking about, but I think this is just enough for the future, and I want to give it back to Hilmar. Thank you.
So that was pretty cool. Derelict stations, going inside hostile environments, asteroid fields, even us together. This is all going somewhere. So, Eve is hard. We heard that from David. We're not going to be shy about it. We haven't been. I mean, we've used this as actual advertising. I think it's pretty cool. Usually games put something else, like a pointy-haired elf with boobs, but we put this guy. And it's also real. I am astounded that all of you are coming here after everything that's gone on in greater force than ever. I'm amazed that some of you are coming here 3 years after you quit playing the game because you love being a part of EVE and love coming to EVE Fanfest and engaging in the community. I love that we now have a plan to make sure that we maintain the future while we go after these crazy goals. Dust is pretty epically amazing, and we all have seen this. This is now all combining into the EVE universe, where we have EVE and Dust connecting into TQ, into this massive cloud of persistent storage and drama and amazement. And we have mobile devices, as we saw with Crest, and all of that. going to see a lot of inspiration from the development community. Who knows where all this is going to go? CCP then has a plan for World of Darkness, and together this will all come together into a massive sort of platform and ecosystem for CCP. We also have Fanfest coming up next year, which is the 10th anniversary of EVE, of all of this, and that's really amazing. And to make sure we're all prepared, then we have picked a date. Yeah. So it's basically a month later. It is 10 days before the 10-year birthday, which is kind of cool. We couldn't put it closer because the hotel prices in Iceland go berserk in May, and we want to make sure that more people can afford to come here. We've booked the Harpa to do it. And as we see, we are a little bit constrained on space. CCP is in the back. That helped it a bit. But for next year, with the David Reed plan of the biggest gaming universe in the universe, then, of course, we will have to figure something out. So we will open ticket sales very quickly so that people can buy tickets so that they're here. There will be other solutions to have more audience. If Dust really blows up, then we maybe have to have Harpa and Laugardalshöll and have like the Dust Fanfest in the sports arena, kind of sporty, and EVE here in a space station. So we will have to figure that out. But at least the date has been picked. And I want to thank you all for coming. But to really thank you, that we have been working on something. This, which you will now receive, is absolutely for free. Can we dim the lights?
Look at this place. Over here. This one seems to be intact. Okay, let's bring it in for analysis.
The implant recovered by the extraction team has fascinating properties. An instant transfer of consciousness, even at the moment of death.
So much blood has been spilled in the name of our faith. Too many have died at the hands of Imperians.
Imagine the military application.
But we have been blessed. I will unleash this new power and end the war.
We cannot allow one nation to control it.
They have done enough to leave their mark in history. Their soldiers would be dangerous beyond measure.
The power they would have, they would be
immortal.
Show it again. What do we do for that? 3 times. Okay, then we go again. We need to dim everything again.
Look at this place. Over here. This one seems to be intact. Okay, let's bring it in for analysis.
The implant recovered by the extraction team has fascinating properties. An instant transfer of consciousness, even at the moment of death.
So much blood has been spilled in the name of our faith. Too many have died at the hands of Imperiums.
Imagine the military application.
But we have been blessed. I will unleash this new power and end the war.
We cannot allow one nation to control it. They have done enough to leave their mark in history. Their soldiers would be dangerous beyond measure. The power they would have, they would be immortal.
No, not again. You will have to go to YouTube and play it, and please help us share it. We really need to show the world what Eve has become, what all of you have made Eve, what all of these guys have made Eve. And that really needs to get out there. So, thank you. This was it. See you at the party.